Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me tonight. My name is Sarah Simon. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator coming to you from Appleton, Wisconsin. Hello, Kelly and Linda and Melanie. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Last week I kept saying my lips are off. I'm really, really sorry. And then I played it back and they weren't. And so I'm thinking it just looks funny on my computer, but that it must be okay, hopefully in the feed. Um, I'm so excited for what I have planned for tonight. So our first card is going to be a SIP card, stamp, ink, and paper. I actually have a little bit of heat embossing on it. Actually, you know what? I have regular embossing on it too, so it's not. I just thought of that. I thought it was it's a simple layout that you could do and make a bunch of them really, really fast. I happen to just throw a couple of things in, but we could adjust it. I have for um, one, trying to think how many of the projects. Two of the projects I have like audience participation. Hello, Kathy Miller. I'm so happy you're on tonight. I wish you were here with me, though. It would make it a lot more fun. I hope you guys had fun when Kathy was here last week because we sure did. And we both said we need to do that again. So, I haven't done a creative challenge in quite a while. And so, as I was creating last night, there's a technique that I've seen out there that I've been wanting to try. And so, I've watched throughout the last week, I've probably watched about 5 different videos. And I think I've taken hopefully the best of what I had seen from a whole bunch of different places to try to get the best or what I felt was the easiest way to do this technique. So we are going to do a creative challenge. So tonight I'll be making 2 cards with that technique. Both of them are quite different because you can do this technique in a variety of different ways. But then if you make a card with that technique and you post it, hi Nancy Hippis, you post it by next week, let's say, so that I have time to write out all the slips. Let's say by the morning of next week, Tuesday, I will enter you into a drawing to win the bundle of your choice. You can pick whatever bundle you want. I do want to let you know that that truck bundle that's in the exclusive, the bundle's not available. You can get the stamp set, but the punch is not available until the middle of October. We are going to be using a different online exclusive bundle tonight in our second card. And I'm going to show you a couple of ways to use the die as well as the stamp set. So let's go ahead and get started with prizes. I don't like to talk a whole lot. Oh, there is one thing I have to tell you about though. Tomorrow, I posted it on my Facebook page. Tomorrow, Stampin' Up! Is offering 15% off all of the stamp sets that are in the annual catalog. Now, the online exclusives aren't in the online catalog, so I do not think that they are included. Um, so anything in the catalog. Now, what I would focus on if you're a person that likes to usually get bundles together, it's still cheaper to get the 10% on the dies when you get that bundle. But there are several stamp sets in there that are not part of a bundle, and that is a lot cheaper that way. Oh, thank you guys so much. I bought this, I don't know, several years ago, and I just all of a sudden today it was a little bit cooler this morning and I needed something with a little bit longer sleeves because my office has been freezing at work. Usually in the summer it's hot, but the thing is if I work in my office it's cold. If I go to another building it's hot. So I'm constantly dressing in layers because I work at 4 different buildings. So, all right, let's get back to our prizes. First of all, for commenting. So anytime you make a comment, your name gets put into a random drawing and you win the cards that I made the week before. So this was the card that I made last week and it was using both sides of the DSP so you can see both sides of it. And then Kathy made this beautiful card. Look at the beautiful colors in that. And it's one of those double box cards. And she left cards and she left it here for me to give away to the winner. And then we made this fun It uses both sides of the papers again. So you open this up and there is a gift card in there. And then you open up the designer paper and you see the other side of the designer paper. And there is a place to write a greeting in there. I better take my gift card out or I'll be sending it to the winner. So the winner of these, thank you for liking and sharing, Melanie, is Barbara Schupanes, I think is how you pronounce that. So, Barbara, I will be getting these off in the mail to you. Congratulations. And then if you share, so Melanie just wrote down that she shared. So I would put her name on my list of people who shared and I number all of them, do a number generator. And the person who shared last week and is going to be winning, this is an online exclusive. It's real red ribbon and it has gold polka dots in it. Perfect for getting ready for some of those Christmas cards. Or really, you could put it on any kind of cards. You could use it on gifts. It's really, really pretty. So receiving this from sharing last week is Jeanne Keller. And Jeanne, I do not have your address. I looked in my pirate ship account and I do not have an address for you. So if you could send me a private message, create with Sarah LLC at Gmail, I will get this in the mail to you. Hi, Aunt Mary. I'm glad you guys are watching from Wapaka. My mom and some of her sisters and a friend are at our cottage. They're playing cards and doing a girls' week. So they're having fun. I have to miss it because I have to actually work. So, Gian, I will be getting this off to you. And I just have to say that the person who is winning for the comments, that person was number 22. The person who's winning for sharing was number 12. And the person who is winning for placing an order was number 2. I'm thinking if you're going to buy a Powerball ticket, maybe the number 2 is a lucky number. At least it was for me here tonight. Okay, so for placing an order and receiving this vertical blooms, I love stamp sets that have the greeting going vertical instead of horizontal. Last week we made that gift card holder, this one right here. There, the greeting was more vertical than it was horizontal. Sometimes you want to make a card like that, and to have a greeting that goes with that is perfect. So this one is a thanks to you, bloom with grace, and then missing you these days. And then these leaves right here, you can stamp the little flowers that are off to the side. Those like go in all of the little buds that are on there. So you can do one in green and you can do one in whatever color your card is. Really, really cool stamp set. So receiving these, number 2 was Michelle Jones. So Michelle, I will get this off in the mail to you. So congratulations to all of our winners. Thank you for sharing, Mary Linsmeyer. All right, I think that's all I have. Told you about the special tomorrow. Told you about the creative challenge, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it when we get there. I think we should start stamping. All right, I'm going to go ahead and change my camera. And I am still in the place where Kathy and I'm at my cupboard rather than at my desk. And the reason is because I completely forgot to move. This is like a little mat. It's not really wood. But I forgot to move that over to my desk. And I'm like, oh, it's easier just to set up there for tonight. So I'll probably change the setup for next week. But you got me 2 weeks here. Okay, so this is a quick and easy card. Your audience participation in this one, I'll get you all the dimensions here. This is for the envelope. And I need that. Okay, so this card, we are going to decide. This is kind of going to be on the front, this little designer paper that has petal pink and crushed curry in it. I took and embossed a layer. These are the online exclusive embossing folders. So we can either just go with a plain, and the lighting is not really good today. Let me see if I turn my overhead light off, what that does. I usually have a big light overhead at my desk. Oh, that's not any better. I think I have to turn it back on. Sorry, guys. All right. So we can either, you can vote to have this big piece of yellow, which is going to go on white, and then this is going to go over the top of it just to give you an idea. Or we could use this crushed curry with the white polka dots and put that on there. Or we can go with the tinier dots and then put that on there. So you can either vote plain big dots or little dots. And when we get there, I will use whatever it seems like is the best, most voted on. Okay, so I'm starting with a thick basic white. This measures 8.5 by 5.5, and I scored it at 4.25. Whichever layer we use here is 4 by 5.25. This designer paper is 3 inches by 3 inches, which is really nice because if you have a 6 by 6 inch piece, hello, Denise from Australia. Thanks for joining me. If you have a 6 by 6 inch paper, you can still get 4 of these out of a sheet of that designer paper. You could also, if it's 12 by 12, you can get a lot of them out of there too. So this is 3 by 3, and we're going to do some cutting, but I wanted to do the cutting with you. I have a petal pink that's 3 by 1, and this is just a basic white that's 3.25 by 4.5. Okay, so those are what we have. Oh, good. I see some of you are voting already. That's awesome. I'm going to bring my paper trimmer in so that I can show you the trimming with this. I still have to type this up, so I'm going to go ahead and set these in my container that had all that stuff. Okay, so I'm going to take my designer paper. Look at this. I have backs for dimensionals on my paper trimmer. We're going to put that in my little cup here. All right, so this is 3 by 3. What I want to do is I want to cut this into 3 1-inch strips. And it doesn't matter with mine because there's not the definite pattern for it, like which way is the right way. So you can choose whichever way you want. And when I cut 1 inch or less, look at this, I got little tape here. I always like to line it up on the right-hand side because that gives me more room on the left for my paper. So I'm going to cut 1 strip and then 2, and that'll give me 3 1-inch. And I want to keep it in the order that it is so that the paper would still be together. So 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to get this out of here. I don't need that anymore tonight, so I'm going to put that on the floor. All right, I'm going to bring in this layer. And what we are going to do is we're just going to layer this paper, and I'm just kind of dry fitting it right now to see where I want it to go. Now this other piece that I had in here is just going to fit right inside there. So I'll have 4 strips with one of the strips being that little one. Okay, we need to stamp on here. So I'm going to the Something Fancy stamp set. I wanted just a greeting. I thought of it afterwards because when I do my third card today, you're going to see that I took some of the paper in this bundle and I ended up cutting out one of those flowers. I just fussy cut it out. And I thought afterwards, oh, I could have done that and put one of those on there, but I would have had to have a smaller greeting. But I took a greeting that fits almost the entire length of this paper. So grateful for the everyday magic of you. Isn't that an awesome greeting to send to somebody? Like, you are just magic in my life because of who you are. All right, and then I'm going to cover this because I'll end up with white embossing powder inside of there if I don't. I have a little spoon in here that I use. And then I will heat emboss that to melt that. And when I do that, through the magic of TV, I do have one of those. I'm going to set this over here though so I can heat emboss it later. I do have one done. If I don't, I'll have to go heat emboss that one, but I did have one over here before. There it is. Okay, so grateful for the everyday magic of you. Such a cool saying. All right, now we're going to go ahead and we're just going to adhere all of these to this panel. So I like to start at the top and what I want to do is I'm going to line up three sides. So I'm going to, I got to make sure I have this, oops, I don't have that in the right way. This is the right way. I'm going to look, I'm going to center it right to left, and then however big those borders are, I'm going to try to keep the top border the same width as these two side ones. Okay, so did you see how I did that? And this is liquid glue, so it does have a little bit of wiggle room that I could wiggle it kind of into place. I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom one. I'm going to line up the right and the left and then try to make it, move this up just a little bit so that from the right and left, that's the same, and then the bottom is similar to that. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of dry fit this to see how much space, and that's about how much space I want to put between them. So I'm going to leave that one there while I put this one in place so that I can, again, eyeball how much space I need to leave, and then put this last one in. Hello from Hawaii, Gwen. Hello, Cheryl and Julie. Thank you for sharing and liking. Little dots, plain, big dots, tiny dots. Okay, we need more votes. Background, tiny dots, big dots, or plain. We're going to be putting this on top of it. What do you like? Okay, go ahead and put it in the comments. I'm going to take some, this is from our Essential Twine package, and it's just basic white baker's twine. And I'm just going to run this around here a couple of times and cut enough. I have to say, in these, I use the black and I use the white all the time. And I have so many of the, I think it's gray granite and crumb cake. I have to start using those. And you know, you could use crumb cake in place of the linen thread sometimes. And I always just forget that. And I always just grab my linen thread. And then I'm like, oh, I could have used cupcake, the crumb cake, not cupcake, crumb cake. Right, so I'm just tying a little bow here, pulling on the edges a little bit. I might have pulled that one too much. Okay, this one has to come a little bit more so they're even. And I'm going to take a glue dot. I like to take a glue dot and just stick one behind that knot. So I'm going to just roll this up in a little ball and then tuck it behind where that knot is. Then it'll kind of stay where I want it to. And I'm going to trim this up a little bit. See how simple and just easy this card is and how fast it just goes together? We're not done yet, but you can tell it hasn't taken me long to do that. All right, let's see. Plain, plain. Looks like the plain might be winning. We don't have a ton of votes, but we'll go ahead. I am going to, before I put that on, I'm going to stamp a little bit of something on the inside. And in our ladybug set, there's this daisy. And I thought that that daisy looked pretty close to the daisies that were on here. And so I'm just going to go ahead and take some Petal Pink ink. And I'm just going to randomly stamp a couple of these daisies. Around the card. So now I can still write a greeting in here. I can still stamp a greeting. So when I go to send it, if I know what the occasion that I'm sending it for is at that point, I can put a different greeting on the inside. Okay, it looks like the plain wins with, I think it's 3 votes. 1, 2, 3, big dots, 2 big dots, and 2 tiny dots. And I got another plain. So we're going to go with plain. And I'm just going to attach this to this card base. So this could be, I wanted to give you the option because I wanted to show you with this layout, you don't have to use plain paper. I embossed my paper. So you could just emboss it if you wanted to, like I did. You could use designer paper instead if you wanted to. And then all we're gonna do is we're gonna come in with some dimensionals and we're gonna pop this up. Got a dimensional back here. I actually was stamping at this place a whole bunch this weekend. And I don't know why I just didn't put anything back on my desk. This is where I usually stamp. So I just made sure I had something down over my little wood mat here. And I'm just gonna pop that right on there. And just like that, we've got a really quick and easy card. And I can, when I know what the occasion is, I could go ahead and stamp a greeting in here, a thank you if I wanted to do a thank you. Yeah, Melanie, yellow is my favorite color. People can never guess. I'm like, oh, guess what my favorite color is, and people are like blue, pink, the kids in school especially. Then when I say yellow, they're like, yellow, and I'm like, it's just so cheery. I love it. And you're gonna find I did a whole bunch of samples with the card that we're gonna do second, and I did it in a bunch of different colors with a bunch of different embossing folders. And the one that I like the best that I'm going to sample for you is also yellow. It's going to be the lemon lolly instead of crushed curry. So it's going to be a softer yellow, brighter yellow, not quite as bold, but I just always come back to yellow. I love yellow so much. All right, so I'm dressing up my envelope to go along with my card so that I can just pop in the mail to a friend for just about any occasion, because this front doesn't really have to be birthday. It doesn't have to, it could be thank you, it could be anything, thinking of you. So that is our first card, and I'm going to set that off to the side. I am going to, because I have my white embossing powder, I don't know if you can see this white embossing powder here. I'm just going to take my vacuum real quick and pick that up. These desk vacuums are awesome. They just pick everything up so that I don't have to take that whole thing off and kind of brush it on the floor or whatever. All right, that is card number one. I'll put this off to the side and get rid of this. Oh, you know what? I had some gems for that. That needed something sparkly. Let's bring that back in here. These are our, what are they called? Neutral adhesive back sequins. And these could be silver or they could be white. They just sparkle. And so I thought that would be perfect. We'll put one there. We'll throw one up there. Maybe we'll do a bigger one down here. Okay, so it just adds a little bit of sparkle to that card. Where did I get that dust vacuum, Julie? I ended up getting that at Amazon, where I get just about everything. I'll look for it and I will link it like I did with the 10-second bow maker. I will link it on my Facebook page so that if you wanted to look, or if you wanted to get one of those, you can. I got them for all of my team members. When they made it a whole year with me, like when we got to the end of our fiscal year for Stampin' Up, which is the end of September, I got all of them one. And it's just kind of a nice thing to put on your desk and you can just kind of clean everything up. All right, card number two. Now this is our creative challenge. So I am going to be making two cards using this technique. I'm going to show you a couple of other ones as samples. And then if you make a card with this technique before next Tuesday morning, we'll say by noon. Oh, shoot. Let's see. I got to get connected again. Hang tight, everyone. We're getting kind of good at this because it seems to happen all the time. And connect and allow. There we go, we're back. I don't think we got disconnected again, did we? I think I'm still connected. I think I'm connected. I think there's just a delay. I'm back. Okay. Um, uh, if you do a card with this technique and you post it on the Facebook page that I where I have the directions and stuff, and I say card challenge, you can be entered into a drawing to win a bundle of your choice. You can pick what you want. Okay, this card, the first one. This is Smoky Slate, and our card base is 8.5 by 5.5. It's scored at 4.25. So none of my cards tonight are fun folds, but instead I went with a technique. All right, and then I have a basic white for the inside that measures 4 by 5.25. I'm using Lemon Lolly for this card. I'm going to show you some other cards. This is 4 by 5.25 as well. And then I have another Smoky Slate that measures 2 1/8 by 2 1/8, and a basic white that measures 2 inches by 2 inches. And then I have 4 little strips. These strips are all 1/4 inch thick, and they're between 5 and 5.5 inches long. You're going to see that I'm going to cut some of them off, but you want to make sure that they're long enough for the section that you need. So you can just take some of your scraps, and like I cut this in half at 5.5, and I had it at 5.5, and I just cut 1/4 inch strips off. Like I mentioned, I'm going to be using one of the online exclusive. This one is called Timeless Charm, and it has these wonderful, these are like little, you're going to see watercolor stamps that you can put behind to color your flowers or put behind your words. It also comes with a die set, and we're going to be using some of the dies. There are dies that cut out your images, but then there are also some of these dies that are standalone, and you can see I have some of them out for the one that we're going to be using with our card today. So I wanted to, this technique is, I've seen it called 2 different things. One thing that I've had it, I just did a 20. Cool, Kathy. This is called either a faux shutter, or the other thing that I've had it called is a fractured card technique. So you could call, I don't know what you want to call it, but that's what I have seen it called by different people. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my stitched shapes or stylish shapes. This is the stitched square, and this is the second to the largest one. And I'm going to take my Lemon Lolly paper, and I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine that I have right here. Whoa, I have a cord hooked to it. Hang tight. There we go. Hopefully I didn't move everything. I'm going to get this paper out of the way here. And I need the handle on this side. Oh, goodness. Big machine for this little space. All right. We are going to be cutting the square out, but we are going to do it so that it's at a diagonal. And I always did mine a little bit towards the top. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this in here, and I'm going to cut it out first. Okay, once I cut it out, I want to save this little piece. We're going to use that, so I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to get rid of all of these plates, and I'm going to bring in my Cane Weave embossing folder, and I'm going to take this part and I'm going to emboss it. You don't have to emboss. This is just how I'm choosing to do this one. You're going to see how I do the next one a little bit different than that. I'm not going to emboss that one because I wanted to show you different ways that you can do this technique. Okay, so I'm going to, this is a 3D, so I'm going to put that gray, that special plate in, and run that through the embossing folder. And I get something that looks like that. Okay, I love that embossing folder. And like I said, I did this with a whole bunch of different embossing folders and some different colors. And so I'm going to show you those. And you can tell me what your favorite color and embossing folder is after. I just picked what mine was and to model for you or to demonstrate for you today. Okay, we're going to stamp on both this piece and this inside piece. So we'll get our stamping done before we actually put this together. Otherwise, I'll have to stop in the middle. So I like to line up my tips so that I know that my diamond is straight. And I'm going to use the stamp from that set. And I chose to stamp this in basic gray rather than smoky slate because it was just a little bit darker. Hi, Sandy. Glad you could join us. I'm going to be making the same style of card, this technique, for 2 cards. So even if you jumped on a little bit late, you just missed the first card. The next 2 are going to be pretty similar. Okay, you know what? That's not very even. So I'm going to give it another try on the back. And if it's not any better when I'm on the back, then we'll just use one of them. Looks like I was a little bit too far to the left, so I'm going to go a little bit further to the right this time. Okay, that looks better. All right, I'm going to take this little thing and I'm going to take some of my lemon lolly and I'm just going to accent that greeting with some of the lemon lolly ink. Okay, so it just has that little bit of ink over the top of the greeting. Right, for the inside piece, I'm going to take this little flower right here, and I'm just going to stamp it down in the corner so that I can put whatever greeting I want in. And again, I'm going to take my lemon lolly ink, and I'm just going to ink up that little watercolor. You could have done it this way. I wanted to kind of keep it up in the area of the flower. All right, we are done with our stamping and we're ready to put this card and technique together. So let me get rid of that. I'm going to bring in a silicone mat for this. Anytime I'm going to possibly be getting glue on my area, I like to use my silicone mat. I don't know if you can see the little bit of glue that's on that little corner. See how it's kind of shiny? All I have to do is take my finger and rub it and all that glue will come off. So that's why I use the silicone mat. We're going to start with our embossed piece that we have here, and we're going to take in our strips, take out our strips, I should say. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on one of the corners. So I can start here, I can start here. It doesn't really matter. It's going to look the same no matter where you start. You don't want to go all the way. Hi, Betty. You don't want to go all the way to the edge of the paper, but rather you want to start to see which, yeah, this is the right side. You want to start in the corner of this square and you want to go right up to where the edge is. See how I didn't even use that whole thing? But I don't want any of the yellow to be showing. I want to make sure that I get that glute down there really good. And I want it to start right there. Then I'm going to come in here. See why I did that? Because now my glue's on there and it's not on my paper. All right, and then I'm going to put glue on my next one. And you could put glue on here if you wanted to, if you've got a pretty steady hand. I tend to like to put it on the little sheets of paper. So like I said, some of the people that I watched, they put their glue strip on here. Everybody did it just a little bit different. So I'm just showing you what worked for me when I made mine. And if you are making yours and you decide you like to make it a little bit different, you can. These don't have to be a 1/4 inch. They could be a 1/2 inch. They could be 3/8 of an inch. You could choose however wide you want these strips to be. Both of mine, I chose a 1/4. I kind of liked how that looked. Okay, and I'm going to put some more glue on this one. And if you wanted to make sure that you didn't put too much on, because look, if I put a lot on, you could also kind of like set it down here and see how far you have to go and make sure where my finger is there. I've got to make sure I have glue that far down. Okay, and that's going to butt right up to there, and it's going to go right out to the end. So again, this is called, I've seen it called a fractured technique, and I've seen it called the faux shutter. This is my scissors that I don't care if it gets glue on. You can kind of tell it's kind of sticky and everything. I'm just going to cut those off. Right, and I'm going to get rid of them because they were gluey, and I am going to get rid of this for right now till I make my next card, because otherwise I'm going to probably set something in there. Okay, doesn't that look cool? Oh, love it. Okay, this is then going to go on our card base. Looks like I went a little bit too far on one of them, but I can still probably get that square back in there. So I'm not too worried about it. I haven't had any of them that I couldn't get back in. So, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. And right away I can glue this on the inside because we have our inside done. And now I'm going to take glue and I'm going to put this back into that spot that I cut it out. Now, if you were making this card on your own, you could take this and you could cut out, we're going to die cut. And I have, of course, I have this done already because through the magic of TV, I didn't want you to have to sit and watch me do that. You already watched me cut out that square. But you could have, in the center of this, you could have cut out this flower that we're going to be using, because it's going to be, square is going to be covered up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and tuck this back in to where I had cut it out. See what I mean? You just kind of, like this one was the side that was out a little bit, so I just have to kind of use my fingernails to tuck it in there a little bit. I could have done a better job. I didn't want to put my head right down in there, but that's going to be covering that. Then we're going to layer this white on that smoky slate. So that smoky slate is 2 1/8 by 2 1/8, and the white is 2 by 2. Right, I'm going to take some dimensionals and throw some of those on this square, diamond, rhombus, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm going to center that with the stitching around it, the yellow stitching. And then I'm going to take some mini dimensionals. I'm going to put a couple of those on this flower. I always like to, I've said this I think before, I like to put my flower down first and then tuck any of my leaves underneath the flower afterwards. I don't know why I've always done it that way, but I kind of have always done it that way. I'm just going to stick my flower here. And then these were some of the leaf dies that, again, you could have cut out of this layer of this inside layer because it gets covered with the white, so that you could save yourself for some paper. Hi, Becky. I'm going to make another card with this technique, Becky, so even though you're late, you're going to see how it's made. Hi, Mary Stamps. Thank you for sharing. And I'm just going to put that up there. Put a little bit of glue. Whoops, I got a little too much. I'm going to take a little bit off and put that up there. Isn't that cute? Okay, then I have, here's the other thing that you can vote on. I made one already. This comes in a triple pack. It's got Lemon Lolly and Bubble Bath and Azure Afternoon. Do you think it needs a bow? Should we put a bow on the top like that? Should I put a bow under the flower or no bow? Okay, so you can say top, bottom, no bow. You can vote on that. While you are voting on that, I'm going to bring some of my iridescent pearls in, and we're going to put an iridescent pearl in the center of that flower. And of course, I'm going to bring some Wink of Stella in here, and I'm going to add some Wink of Stella. Now, one thing that I found over the years of using Wink of Stella is that if I had put Wink of Stella on this whole thing and then tried to attach this gem, the gem wouldn't stick to the Wink of Stella. So it's best to put your gem on and then put your Wink of Stella after. I've got yes, top, top, no bow, top. I'm getting lots of tops. So we'll see what it looks like. And then you can see what it looks like with the no bow because I didn't put a bow on the first one that I made because I made a whole set of these. I'm going to show you the whole set. So we'll go ahead and put that bow up there. So there is our card. On the inside, I could stamp a greeting if I wanted to. Okay, so that is my Lemon Lolly with the cane weave embossing folder. Okay, so here it is without the bow. Okay, this is Bubble Bath with that same embossing folder that we used in the last card. Here is Balmy Blue, and this uses one of the embossing folders that was in that trio, so the same one that the Bubble Bath came from. And then this is Fresh Freesia, and this uses that Twisted Rope, I think it's called, embossing folder. So I've got 4 different colors, 4 different embossing folders. And wouldn't this make like just stamp like a flower in each of the colors on an envelope, tie it up with a ribbon and give it to someone as a gift? Who doesn't use thank you cards, right? So this would be an awesome gift. Didn't take me that long to do that, really. You could cut all these out pretty fast and stamp them all really fast. And just like that, you have a really nice, easy gift to give to someone. Okay, so that's method number 1, which was I cut out the square, then I embossed it, and then I put the square back in. Okay, that's method 1. Now we're going to go to card 3. Let me keep out, this is the one we just made with the bow. Let's bring that stamp back here. I mentioned the envelope, but I didn't do anything to my envelope. Let's bring some of the basic gray ink back again, and let's just put one of those flowers in this corner. Now you could, if you wanted to, if you don't like the watercolor look that I'm using, you could always color it in with a Stampin' Blend as well. Okay, so I just went ahead and put some of that watercolor right over the top of it. All right, so there we have an envelope to go with our card. That is, again, I'm not sure what the official name is, if it's fractured or full shutter. I'm not quite sure. You can call it whatever you want to call it. Let me clean up here a little bit because I don't have a really big space here, and I want to make sure that I have enough room to do the last card. All right, our last card, we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna do the exact same technique. We're just gonna make our card look a little bit different by doing something just a tad bit different. So this time, ooh, like the colors already, right? We are going to use a basic black, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. I'm using Fresh Freesia and then basic white for the inside. This time I also needed a piece of the designer paper. I cut this at 4 by 5 1/4, but you could really kind of get away with smaller pieces. You'll see when I do it. I just wanted to make sure I had a big enough piece. Linda, I love yellow and gray together. That's what my living room is. It's what my kitchen is. I have yellow and gray throughout my house. I love that combination as well. That's probably why I picked that as my favorite because yellow is my favorite color. 2 by 2, 2 and an eighth, wherever that one went. This is 2 and an eighth by 2 and an eighth. I don't know where the post-it note went. And then these are 1/4 inch thick strips that I have for this one. And then I also have a strip of that designer paper that's 3/8 of an inch wide. It has to be at least 5 1/4. I know this is longer than 5 1/4. I think it's 6. And then I'm just going to cut off what I don't need. Okay, so, and I will put all these dimensions, I will get them up there as quickly as I can. I'll take pictures yet tonight so that I can post the card challenge for any of you that are really go-getters and want to start working on this tomorrow. I have to work tomorrow. Okay, guess what I get to do tomorrow? Remember that STEM activity where we made Ferris wheels a couple weeks ago? And I had like 50 kids? Yeah, well, tomorrow we're making ice cream. Yeah, I'm crazy. I have 8. Do I have 8 or do I have 10? Um, Quarts of half and half. I have 7 boxes of kosher salt. They're 3-pound boxes. You name it, I have it all. But we are making tomorrow. We are making with our CARES program, with our summer CARES program. It's a little STEM activity. So I have a video that explains how it works, and then we've got toppings for the ice cream as well. So yep, that's going to be my day tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to need some sleep tonight with all those kiddos. All right, so I'm going to be taking the fresh freesia layer, and again, I'm going to put the same square at a diagonal, and hopefully I'm getting it centered. I'm not like looking at it straight on. I'm trying to look at it in my camera. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this. This one I probably could have cut ahead of time, but I always want to show you that it's not as hard as you think. Now, I did see some of these cards made with, and I don't have it anymore. I sold it because it retired. But we had that one that had, I don't think it was a hexagon shape. And you could do that just with all of the sides of the hexagon. Has to be something that has some square or some straight edges like this that you can run it across. There's one that goes like this and it has diagonals, and I think that one might look kind of cool too. I didn't try it with any other shapes except for the square. So that's all I did. We're not embossing this one. So we can go ahead, let's stamp though. Again, I'm going to line this up so that I know that I have something that's straight. And this time I'm just going to use some Memento ink. And we're just going to stamp happy birthday along the top. Easy enough. My inside piece, I'm going to be putting this across the side. So I'm just going to lay it there right now so I know where it is so that I can take this "So happy to celebrate you" and center that. Okay, I don't know what I got on there, but it came off. Okay, that's all we're doing for stamping. I do have one of these flowers that I put in here somewhere that we're going to fussy cut out. It's right here. So we're going to fussy cut that out and we're going to use it on the front of our card as well. All right, so let's go to our technique since we have our stamping done. So I'm going to bring my silicone mat back in here again. And this time I'm going to put black strips on this, and I'm not going to have it embossed at all. I'm just going to go ahead and put these black strips down. All right. Oh, thank you, Linda. I just saw your comment. I've been seeing these types of cards around more and more, and I'm like, I've been doing so many fun folds, And some people get scared with fun folds. So I'm like, maybe I can just do a technique that everybody can feel pretty confident in maybe doing that doesn't have to have a whole bunch of pieces that fold, and you don't have to do a whole bunch of different cutting and things like that. So I thought this was a pretty easy technique, but I love how it turns out. Okay, and we got one more strip. Here it is. Now, obviously, I could probably cut some of these off and have used them somewhere else on the card. I just thought it was easier at this point, since they're just a 1/4 of an inch little strip, that I'm not wasting that much paper when I cut them off. And so I'm going to go ahead and trim these. 1, 2, whoops. This is my sticky scissors. Anytime I have to cut something sticky, I use it. Yeah, Carol, you would think that it's harder. And you know what? If you watch some demonstrators and how they do it, they cut it out and then they cut out another one and then they layer. There were a lot of different steps that they did to make theirs look just a little bit different. I thought this was just the easiest. Okay, now before I add this to my card base and return this purple back into the center, what I want to do is I want to take some of this designer paper, and for 2 of the opposite sections, and I'm going to choose this section and this one, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put some of that designer paper in 2 of the sections. So I'm going to go ahead and add my glue to that section so I know how much I need. I'm just going to set that right into that corner and slide it right in against the borders of those black lines. And make sure that I give that a good press. And then I'm going to come back here. See why I said you don't really need 4 by 5 1/4. I just wanted to make sure that I had enough for my corners. And depending on where you actually cut this, how far up or how far down, the size that you would need might vary. So now I'm going to set that in there. So it's hard for me to say what size you would need. I guess you could say a scrap of it because you don't really need that whole piece, but I didn't know, like I said, how much I would need depending on where the square actually fell. Okay, now I have a fancy little, I have 2 sections done there. Now I'm going to add it. Now, I could have, just to give you another idea, yeah, you could put something in the center monogrammed for a gift. That would be a really nice gift. I could have embossed this whole thing like I did the last time and then put these in here, and then these 2 sections would be embossed. So you could do that. You can do any really combination of things. I'm going to show you where, instead of using a piece of cardstock here, using a piece of designer paper itself. I did that for one of my samples to show you as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. This one I really put towards the center instead of being up more. I think this might be the, usually tend to try to put it a little bit higher than center, but you don't have to. Okay, and then this is going to go back in the center where I took it out. I still needed to cut it out because I needed to follow along those lines to put my black ones. And I also wanted to have that stitching on there. Okay, and then I'm going to layer this on the black. So again, 2 by 2 is this little square, 2 1/8 by 2 1/8. Now, you're going to see with my next sample that I show you, where I just put a greeting and I didn't do anything else. I've seen some people where they put a greeting here, or they put designer paper here. They maybe made this a little bit smaller, and then they put something down on the side here. You can design them however you want. It doesn't have to be done. Oh, there's my little sticker. So So maybe you want to use a smaller square instead of this bigger one that I have, and you want to be able to have some space where you could put something. Some people stamped down here and they put a design in the center. There's so many different, if you do a search for either stamping technique that's called the shattered technique or faux shutter, you'll see a whole bunch of different samples. Okay, let's get our inside done and then I'll cut that out. So this is just going to get glued on here. Isn't this paper cool? This is some of that delightfully eclectic paper that comes in that really, really big pack. Yeah, Kathy, I love this DSP. So both cards that had DSP today, those daisies that I did in the first card, and this paper, the paper that Kathy used last week for her card, those are all using paper from that pack. So there's some really, really cool patterns in that pack of paper. It's hard to tell from the little square that I show you on here and the little square that you see in the catalog. All right, so this is going to go in here. And then, like I said, I'm going to fussy cut. I'm going to grab, and my other scissors is really, really sticky right now, and I know this is supposed to be ribbon, but I'm going to go ahead. Now you could, this flower looks very, very similar to a flower that's in one of our stamp sets. For the life of me, I can't think of the name of the stamp set right this second. I can look it up when we're done, but you could stamp instead if you wanted to, and you could use your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine if you have the dies. But I wanted to show you, you don't have to buy all of the stamp sets that go with this paper to be able to use it, because it doesn't take much time to just fussy cut one of these flowers out and to use it on the front of the card. All right, I'm almost done here. Notice I left a little bit of a fresh freesia border around the outside. Okay, now I'm going to bring in some of our black and white gingham ribbon. Oh, love this stuff. And let's see. That should be plenty. Just like I did last week, I'm going to make a faux bow. I don't like to make the full bow because if I make the full bow, my knot is really big and clunky. And I'm just going to set this back here to see if it's wide enough, and it is. And then I'm going to flip it over and just take a piece of Scotch tape and tape that down. And then I'm going to trim up that ribbon. Okay, and then we're going to just take some dimensionals. I'm kind of putting them on the top and the bottom of the bow, because otherwise the bow is going to be a different dimension. And I'm just going to set that there. Oh, look at that. Okay, and then I'm going to bring my Wink of Stella back in. I don't know where I set my Wink of Stella. I might have put it in. I have some here, but these are ones that were running low, so that's why they're sitting over there. But oh, there's still some coming out of here. I'm just going to run a little Wink of Stella over that. And then I'm just going to take some of the black dots. I don't even know what these are called because I don't have them in their pack. I'm down to this for this. There's gray and there's very vanilla, there's basic white, and there's black. And I'm just going to stick. This is one of those cases where instead of 3, I thought 2 was perfect on either end. And there I have my birthday card. Let's just decorate our little envelope so that we have something to put with it. So I really like last night. I started at about 6:30, quarter to 7-ish. I sat down and I had nothing made yet. And I had seen somebody do that first card, and I thought, well, I saw that a couple weeks ago and I had saved it. And I'm like, okay, I want to design a card like that. Let's see what I'm going to do. And then I knew I wanted to do some sort of a technique. So I decided to do this technique, and then I was having so much fun making them that I'm like, we're going to do this a creative challenge so that everybody gets a chance to try this, hopefully, and get a chance to win the bundle of their choice. All right, so here is the one that we just made. This one right here, I used designer series paper. So I started with this designer series paper. I cut out the square and I didn't use that square. I saved it to use for something else. And then what I did was I just put the strips of paper on the designer paper and I cut a square in Misty Moonlight because that was kind of the color of this background. And I did that. And here I only did the 2 1/8 by 2 1/8. Maybe it's 2 by 2. It might be a little bit of in between. It might be like 2 1/16 by 2 1/16. I needed to make it so that the greeting on there would fit. Okay, so this one just has a greeting with a bow and it was using designer paper. Easy. I didn't have to emboss anything. All I had to do was cut and tape and then put stuff back in. So there's a couple of different examples that use some designer paper. I'll bring my other samples back in here again. So we did this one today. I did these last night. And then our first card was this daisy one. That was super easy with just a 3 by 3 piece of designer paper. And yeah, Kathy, once you have everything cut and ready to go, oh, you're doing this for your September stamp club. Awesome. Yeah, I think that these are awesome and so easy to do, but there's so many different varieties that they all look just a little bit different depending on what you're using. Thanks, Kathy. It was the classic matte dots that I was using on here too. She covered me there because I didn't have the name of those. Okay, let me see here if I can come back to you. Oh, I'm sweating now. Remember how I said I was cold all day? Now I'm sweating and I don't know why. Oh my gosh. Lila is just sound asleep. I'm going to take my camera out of my stand and I'm going to show you. She is just so precious. For those of you who don't know who Lila is, let me see. Let me get my camera here for you. There she is, my little girl. She's sound asleep. She's been sleeping here most of the time that we've been stamping. Isn't she cute? Yeah, she's my little love. So anyhow, I will be posting some pictures of all of these shattered techniques, faux shutter, whatever it's called. I will be posting my pictures with a little information. It'll say creative challenge. It'll have all the instructions that you just have to post a picture in that post, and then you will be entered into a drawing next week to win the bundle of your choice. And I will even leave it if there's nothing, if there's not a bundle that you necessarily wanted from the annual catalog and you want to wait to see what's going to be in the holiday catalog, you could always do a can I order later type thing if you win. I'm fine with that. So all right, that's all I have for you today. Remember tomorrow, if you wanted any stamp sets, they're 15% off. If the order's under $150, I would love it if you use the code that's right there because that helps me to get all of my prizes. And so I think that's it. Pray for me tomorrow with my ice cream making. I made it tonight to make sure that 5 minutes was plenty of time for shaking it in the ice we just make it in gallons. You have a gallon size bag and a quart size bag and you make it. The kids think it's awesome, but oh my goodness, I don't know if I'm going to make it through the day, but I will. I just am overwhelmed right now. But when I get there and they're around me and they're just so cute, it'll all be great. I'll probably be sweating as much as I am right now. Anyhow, all of you have a great week. I hope that you will try this technique and enter your card so that we can see it in the creative challenge and get a chance to possibly win a bundle of your choice. You guys all have a great week. Thank you so much for supporting my business and being here with me tonight. And I will see you at the same time and the same channel.